I am joined by Scott Greenberg, co-founder of StarStock, the revolutionary new platform for sports card investors. And we're going to be talking about the updates to StarStock because, as you know, it's a new platform. Scott has been on Jeff's show, the Sports Card Investors, talking about where StarStock came from, and a lot of you guys have already seen that and understand the background of it. So we'll only spend a few minutes going back into that part. But then we got to go forward because the sports card industry is booming and it's changing rapidly. So, Scott, welcome to the show. This obviously was not live on YouTube because I suck at this technological stuff. I got to hire an assistant. I got to up my game. But thanks so much for joining me. And we're going to go over a lot of questions and complaints or concerns that people around the sports card hobby is having. So, how are you doing today, for one?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. Excited about this. Bummer about the QA. Hopefully we have a few people join us inside of here and we can have a fun conversation.
Yeah, hopefully not. If not, I have plenty of questions that people are giving me ahead of time that I will go through here on my phone. But from the last time that we spoke, this was right after you had your interview with Jeff from Sports Card Investor. This was what, 6 weeks old at the time or 5 weeks old. A lot was going on with StarStock. So what is StarStock for the people out there that are not familiar with the platform yet, and where did it originate from?
Yeah. StarStock's a new sports card platform that we launched 2 months ago now. Really our biggest focus is allowing people to trade cards instantly and at scale. And so myself and my two co-founders, we built this based off our own experience buying cards. And those were really the things that we wanted to do the most. We wanted the ability to buy 1,000 cards of a player, in one transaction, if we really thought that, he was undervalued or, going to perform well in the future. And we wanted to do it instantly. I hated going to the post office, and that was basically it. I found myself buying cards with the intention to list them, but never really getting around to it at times just because I hated the process of doing it. And so a lot of our focus is really on the seller and making the selling experience on StarStock as seamless and transparent as possible.
And okay, so that all speaks to me because as a collector of cards for a long period, if you're going to hold cards for years and years, StarStock doesn't necessarily make sense because you don't mind getting a card in person and having it on your wall or in your collection. But for the flippers, there's a lot of people entering the space from Gary Vee's influence, from obviously fantasy football. There's other platforms emerging as well too. I mean, I've heard of Slab Stocks and StockX, and they all have a similar feel and vibe. Where does StarStock stand out from those other platforms?
Yeah, well, our model is completely different. Most of the other platforms out there, ComC is similar in some regards. Most of the other marketplaces out there, you buy the card shipped, shows up at your door. And so really our model is to ingest all these cards into a centralized vault. And so by doing that, by having all the cards in the same location, we're able to allow people to instantly trade and to trade without shipping. And so when you take shipping out of play, you can buy at scale, you can buy from multiple sellers in one transaction, and we're able to charge a lesser transaction fee, which is 5%.
Yeah, and one of the big complaints I have with eBay is that obviously if you're buying low-end cards, a $5 card that you buy and now pay $4 shipping on, now you're paying almost double for that low-end card. You're also dealing with scams. You're dealing with a lot of logistical nightmares, in my opinion. But also, the more scams and the more complaints from all the transactions, the card didn't arrive, it didn't arrive properly, all this, the more eBay has to charge sellers more or have to pump up their fees in order to cover them bailing out the buyers who say this, but maybe they're lying, maybe they're the scam artists, maybe the seller is actually good. So compared to where StarStock was a couple weeks ago to now, what is the biggest difference? Because a lot of times what I'm hearing is the inventory is too low, or it sounds too much like this other platform or whatever. What has the biggest change been so far?
Well, we're iterating on the product every day. Every single day, we're pushing something live, whether it's a new feature, bug fixes, just minor improvements that might take a day or two to notice, but really make a lot of difference in the background. Aside from that, we are getting a lot more cards sent to us. So we launched, it was 2 months ago. We launched with several thousand cards on the site, but a good amount of them were from a handful of power sellers. And what we're starting to see is once people send in their first submission, we're seeing a very high rate of them send in a second and a third. And some have even sent in 4 or 5 submissions already. And so we're really, on our way towards building more inventory in the site. It's exciting. And so I know that's a complaint from some that we're kind of low on inventory, but we've just been getting so many cards. We're scaling up our operations team, and we're really focused nonstop on getting those cards into the site.
All right, cool. And do you know the inventory numbers roughly from, let's say, a couple of weeks ago until now?
So we launched the site with 4,000 cards on it, and we've quadrupled that, I think, to the beginning of this week. So we're about around 16 now. And we have thousands of more that are on their way in. And so we've been scaling up our operations. And, this past week, we've actually been able to process 5 times the amount of cards per day that we were processing last week. And so we're going to just continue on iterating on that every single day. Our process is changing, and we're just working on making it super efficient so we can get the cards into the system as soon as possible for everybody.
And what's been the biggest challenge besides the volume? Is there anything else on the logistical end that has made it really tough to keep up?
No, I mean, we're taking some actions that we need to take in order to make sure that we have every single card and we can, account for every single card. And so there's a lot of organizing that goes on and a lot of, counting. We're double, triple, quadruple counting every single, submission that gets sent into us. We've been asking our sellers to fill out a form. And so if they're able to fill out a form online, which you find on StarStock, then we've been able to process those cards even faster. And so I encourage everybody who's listening, if you're going to sell through us, to fill out a form. Super simple. Give us your username, your submission ID, your email, and basically like an estimate on how many cards you're selling. But it really helps us a lot. And in some cases, if a person's got a small submission of maybe somewhere less than 25, 50 cards, if you tell us which cards you're sending, it helps us even more. And so, I'd really encourage people to do that. But for the most part, we're on top of it, and we're, improving on making it faster every day. But we are, still dotting all of our I's and crossing all of our T's when it comes to keeping track of all these cards and having them all sheeted so we can keep track.
Gotcha. One of the questions that someone brought up, I'm going to read it here because it was a concern about what if you send in your cards and it doesn't reach the system, they don't get the cards. And I worried about that with CompC because I just sent in, and none of them were rookie cards that I know of, maybe a few, but very little. So I know that you're starting with rookie cards, correct? Is there anything besides rookie cards or first-year prisms, or was it, were those it?
The two major rules are only rookies and only current athletes.
Okay.
And then from there we have select brands that we accept, but those are the two broad rules of StarStock.
Okay, and I mean it makes sense in terms of trading for the fluidity, for the volume. A vintage player from the 70s, his second-year card or some insert doesn't really make sense at this point. That's a good card for eBay or CompC or one of the others, but for that active trader, I mean, unless that person has a documentary or they die or something, it's pretty much not going to be a relevant player for a while. So let me see here. eBay has a major monopoly, and while I'm not entirely sure of their fee system, all they have to do is charge less fees. One thing that I thought of, and this is by Gagan Gandhi, who eBay is obviously a completely different platform. It's been around forever. It's the biggest one. That's what we use a lot of our data off of. But has the idea of eBay buying StarStock or even buying another platform crossed your mind in terms of, well, if you're the biggest player, kind of like how Google will go out and just buy another company, or Amazon will buy another company because they have the resources. Is that something that is on your mind or your partner's mind, or any talks that you've seen like that?
No, haven't, honestly, have never even thought about that until just now. No, we're trying to build a better market than eBay. That's all we're focused on. We want to be better, and that's it. We want to focus on sports cards. They have lots of stuff on eBay. When you type in Zion Williamson, you'll find his cards, but you're also going to find his jerseys. You're going to find Duke stuff. You're going to find autograph, autograph pictures and other things along those lines. And so we really just want to dominate the cards. We want to make it super easy to come onto StarStock and know exactly, if you want to invest in Zion, we want to make StarStock the easiest place to do that. And so our focus is on really providing a transparent experience. We want to show you pricing history so you feel like you're buying at a fair price or you're selling at a fair price. We want to make it super simple for those that might not know as much about the different card brands to come onto our site, not be over confused. You have 3 or 4 different options in terms of brands. And so we're really focused on just building a really great experience on our site. Haven't thought it at all about eBay or being bought or anything like that.
Okay, because I mentioned to you before, Gary Vee could be that X factor where he has so much influence on the investing side, not necessarily the collecting, but that investing side that's brought in so many people like myself, that if he backs a certain platform or starts his own or anything like that, that could be a huge game changer just because he has that enormous influence in this hobby. Now, in terms of going forward in the future, what's it looking like in terms of expansion? Are you guys focused on any, including more cards, or is there a certain aspect of expansion you're looking at? Because I've gotten requests for hockey cards, soccer cards, just more cards, different cards. Is it too early for any of those other sports or cards yet, or is there any room for that right now?
Tons of people requesting soccer cards and hockey cards. Something we'll do probably in the near future, not next month or anything like that, but we'd love to start accepting those cards soon. In terms of like other brands, non-rookies, vintage, things like that, we're open. But for right now, this is, we want to stick with rookies and we want to stick with current athletes. With vintage cards, they're great investments from an investment perspective. They're a lot of fun to collect as well. They're not as volatile in the pricing, and there aren't really events that can shoot a vintage card market going crazy, other than obviously what we saw with MJ or Kobe, or if someone makes it to the Hall of Fame. But aside from that, like, what's Charles Barkley doing on a weekly or monthly basis that's going to shoot his card up or down? If Charles Barkley tears his ACL, it's no big deal.
If he stops at commentating, I don't know if him and Shaq get in a fight on TNT or something, but yeah, pretty much it's as stable as it can be, which is not really the point of what you're going for, which is, how can I read data and correspond different games and events in sports to make the right decision or to invest the way I'd like, rather than, okay, well, you might as well just go to another platform at this point.
Yeah, and so our biggest focus, like, we have a lot of work to do to gain liquidity on the site. And so we are super focused with the cards we're accepting, and we're just encouraging people to send as many of those as possible. And so we can build a liquid market where people can, come to StarStock on game day and actively trade players while the games are going on. And that's really what we envision as we build this.
I had this idea of, I feel like low inventory is one comment I've heard a lot, which it's like a catch-22. It's like, well, we need you to send your inventory to us so that the inventory's up so other people can buy it and more circulation goes. And I had this idea of, what about StarStock, whether it's you or your partner or someone else buying $50,000 worth of low-end rookie cards or just off of eBay and other places just to shift it to StarStock. I mean, that was just an idea I had. I was like, oh man, what if you went on the Beckett marketplace and you just 100 of this receiver, 100 of this quarterback, whatever it is, just so that that inventory aspect is now eliminated. Is that something that has crossed your mind, or raising funds for
Yeah.
investors, or money to do that?
So, I mean, it's definitely something that we thought about while we were coming up with the concept for the idea. And so, originally we decided not to. We were like, we don't want to be pricing cards ourselves as a market. We want it to be a free market where everyone comes in, sellers come in, and they price their own cards, not StarStock. However, we like to show you the pricing history so you can, have all the right information and data to do that. What we've seen, though, is that we have a handful of power sellers that are essentially doing that for us. We don't need to do that. We have people that are already doing it, and they're basically going through our site. They're trying to find opportunities, and they're bulk buying on eBay or ComC, or in some cases like Instagram and Facebook, and they're sending it into us and having a lot of success doing so. We had one person who tried it out with a pretty big bulk order on I think it was the second or third week that we started. And he sold 150 plus cards in 36 hours. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to do it again. This guy cashed out 15 grand from our site yesterday. And so we have had some people that have realized that there's a lot of opportunity on the sell side to put good cards on the site, and they'll sell pretty fast. And so it's been great for us. We've seen that people are kind of doing that instead of us needing to do it.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point on, I feel like you can sell for a premium on some of these sites because the fees are reduced. And I've noticed this with ComC, where I will buy cards outside of ComC with the idea of either getting them graded or sending them to ComC, just because I know that people will pay more when they don't have to pay for shipping, when shipping's not something they needed. They'll always have to minus that out. Well, taxes, shipping, this, because they have to receive the card just to relist it, where they would love to just have it in the system and transfer ownership. So I have noticed from the selling side, there's a lot of incentive there. It's also a lot easier just to click a couple buttons, own the inventory of this platform, and then you're controlling the supply side to a degree, where some people will pay more for the last few cards because they plan to flip it again in the future, and they would rather take that risk on, I'm holding the supply. So now I can charge a premium, because if you want the card, here it is, but it's not like you have all these alternatives. So as a buyer, of course, I want to have a lot more. I want to have 5,000 of a single card there, or 1,000, whatever, just so I have some variance of price. I can look at the lower ones and buy up those, or the certain sellers that are willing to take a lower price. But then on the flip side, I know that if I sell, because I'm going to get more of the money back from less commission, I'm not going to have to pay shipping myself or have the buyer pay shipping. It's a lot better of a transaction. There's more money that can transfer hands, which makes it a lot more exciting for investors. Yeah,
and then the other thing too is just the guarantee that you can flip at the optimal time. So we are seeing that some people are willing to pay a slight premium for that as well, where you know that the photos are taken, the card's in the system, and it's just 2 clicks away from going live on the market whenever you want. And so the convenience factor is pretty big as well.
And that takes me to the next point, which is the pictures of the cards. That's got to be the number one concern, complaint, request that you get. And that's the number one request I've gotten, is how in the world do I even know they have the cards in their system? How do I know that they're not just this giant scam artist that is collecting everyone's cards, that's going to just sell on eBay one day and move to Costa Rica? How do I know that? Because there's no actual pictures. So it's all theory unless it's proven. So you talked to me about getting that machine ready, the scanner, so that they can print out, they can take the pictures, which they are doing, or you said have been doing from the beginning. When is that going to go live on StarStock?
Really soon. It's live on my account. And so I've been enjoying it a little bit, just kind of getting to click through my collection and see pictures of all the cards I own and whatnot. And so the functionality is there. As you said, we've been taking photos ever since we got our first card. This has been the plan. And so it was just a matter of building it out. We wanted to get our MVP out. We wanted to push the product out and get on the market. And so obviously anyone who's been on StarStock for at least only a couple weeks, you can see that we're making improvements each day. And so this will be one of them, and should be out really soon.
Okay. I'm sure that once that feature's out, there's going to be a huge sigh of relief on some. There's going to be a lot of interest. That's the number one thing holding it back, either on the selling side or on the buying side, myself included. I got to say, on CompC, seeing the scanned image of each card, being able to look at each corner, because I like to buy a lot of raw cards. I can't even imagine buying cards that are just categorized as really good or excellent or whatever without seeing it, unless it's very low end. So I'll go on eBay or Beckett Marketplace and I'll take that chance, but these cards are $2 or $3 a piece. To drop $20 on a card, that one rough edge or dinged corner could be the difference between it being a 10 PSA 10 or just being worth $5. It is not worth the risk on that level. So I know that that's going to be huge for you. What else should people know about StarStock that maybe is a misconception or just it's not really commonly known? Because I know it comes from a great background of fantasy football, which is the theme, but what else is just a bit of confusion that people have right now?
It's a good question. I'd say, a lot of people think that we're a market just for card investors. And like, if you're a collector and you like collecting, one of a certain player, or filling gaps in your collection, going for the rainbow, that we're not the place for you. And I think that, I think we have an amazing platform for that as well. And it's something that we are going to focus a lot on, is really building out your collection and allowing you to almost use StarStock as a checklist to find what you're missing, whether you're looking to collect all of a player, or if you're looking to collect the rainbow. We have these really cool like badges underneath each card that tell you the card parallel, and they use color and whatnot. And so we've had a few users tell us that they're starting to like try to collect as many of one badge as they possibly can for their favorite player, things like that. And so we're constantly in our product meetings brainstorming cool ways we can kind of gamify the collection side of things, and really make an appealing marketplace, not only for your investors that are looking to, buy a player and flip him the next day, but also for someone that just wants to collect, their favorite player or their favorite team.
And yeah, that's the biggest, I'd say, that's the biggest thing I've heard in terms of just the people that are on board are flippers, short-term investors. That's the easy sell. The biggest negative feedback or toughest feedback I've gotten is this is not at all for a collector. A collector wants the cards in person. They can't imagine not seeing the physical card online, and it's just designed for flippers. So let me ask you, what is your vision? Obviously this company could take a lot of different pivots, a lot of different directions over the next few years, but going in and where you're at now, what would you imagine StarStock is in 5 years in terms of how it's built out, the presence, who it's for, all those kind of things?
Yeah, we want to enable people to, like, I'm a big sports fan and have always kind of loved playing fantasy sports, whether it's DFS or season long, occasional sports better as well. Really liked, placing future bets, things like that. And so we really want to enable people that are looking to invest in their favorite athlete. We want to be the place where they can do that. And so, that's kind of the vision. We're looking to build the best marketplace where you can come in when you think, Zion or RJ Barrett or John Morant's undervalued at the moment. And we want to help you, buy the right card. We think that sports cards are by far the best utility to invest in an athlete. And so we think that we can build a really strong athlete stock market using sports cards.
Okay. So one more question popped in my mind, which is, I think every platform can say something like that. They have their mission statement, they have their beliefs. Why would StarStock succeed? What is your competitive advantage? Why should I have faith that StarStock is going to be the one that emerges when everyone has this idea, but only a few can really execute?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're working really hard on it. We have a team that's built from a background that I think we can really execute on this, and we're working our ass off. And at the end of the day, we're card collectors and investors ourselves. And so the way we see it is we're building this product for ourselves. We in our meetings, we're like, all right, would we want to see this? Would we want to use this? And so that makes this a lot easier. And, you know, like I said, you know, in the beginning of the Zoom call, it's built off our own experience, and we just had terrible experiences buying on eBay and some of the other markets. And so we're really trying to improve a few areas that we think really need improvement the most. And so we're just trying to stay focused on providing a good seller experience, allowing people to buy at scale and allowing them to buy instantly.
Nicely done. Any last words on what people should know about StarStock?
No, I mean, you know, we really encourage people to give us feedback. We've been getting lots of emails and even phone calls as well, from people that are just calling to tell us what they think about the site, or feature requests or things that they'd like to see in the future. And so we just say, like, keep that coming. Email me at scott@starstock.com. Give us a call. Would love to chat with anyone. Some of the phone calls end up turning into kind of going back and forth on who we're both investing in and whatnot. And so, you know, really appreciate all the support so far. We have a lot of like really loyal users right out of the gate, and a lot of really loyal sellers that are enjoying it. And you know, excited for sports to come back. Like, really cannot wait to see, you know, how the market, you know, works when we have live sports going on.
Yeah, and I must give you credit for getting back to me so quickly when I initially emailed you, and you've always been open to feedback, to collaboration. Obviously, I couldn't get this going on YouTube, but we're going to try again. And maybe you need one of your guys on your end to set up ODS or OBS with Zoom, because obviously my skill set is not on the technical side. But Scott, thanks so much for being on, and this is going to be a great episode to upload onto YouTube so people can watch over and over again and make fun of my lack of technical skills. But also check out StarStock. Don't listen to other people. Just go on the website, see what you like, what you don't like. If there's any feedback or concerns or questions, just email Scott. Because, you know, a business that is open to the customer, to what they really want going forward, not just what worked in the past, I think is the sign of a company that's going to do well in the future. Because we see it with Kmart shutting down and all these other companies that followed what was working before. If you're not innovating, then what are you doing? You know, and you know, one person said, eBay is the place. eBay is the place. Everywhere else is not going to be able to battle eBay. But you know what? People said the same thing before eBay arrived. It's like, no one's going to buy and sell their cards online on some weird platform with reviews. Who's going to go on this website called eBay and do this? And that's how change happens, is you find ways to improve and you listen to customers. And if you can execute and eliminate those pain points, then you will succeed. So Scott, thanks again for being on, and definitely check out starstock.com. Sign up for your free account. It's very simple. There's a lot of data tools as well, and enjoy. Have a great investing season until sports come back.